welcome back. It is day 5 in the 12 Days of Knitmas series. In this series, I show you 12 easy and customizable projects that you can make with your circular knitting machines. This is what we are going to be making today, an adorable wreath with a bow. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. Also, if you haven't subscribed, don't forget, because we have many more cute projects coming up as we wrap up the 12 Days of Knitmas, as well as don't forget to check out the playlist to see the projects that we've already done. So let's dive right in.
For today's project, we'll be upcycling some old ornaments that I had. I think a lot of those were from Dollar Tree, some holiday festive colored yarn, as well as the Centro 22 pin. You'll also need something for the wreath. I had a couple of these around. I had some metal, and then I also had these little wicker ones. But you could actually just use cardboard and then hot glue everything on the cardboard after you covered it in yarn. So there's lots of options there. So let's start out by covering the Christmas balls. So first of all, you're just going to cast on without waste yarn. This is so simple, and it really takes about like 30 seconds. So then you're just going to knit about 10 rows. I did 10 rows for this small size. They're about 1.5 inch diameter, but for larger, you're going to want to do a little bit more rows. And then obviously if you have really teeny tiny ones, you'll make smaller rows as well, but the process will be about the same. To cast off, we will not be using waste yarn, and I found this little trick that if you actually turn your little Centro, you can pull out the little loops really easily without them dropping. So this is something that I just started doing only for the little small machine, and then just cranking it with my left hand. It seems to work really well. I never seem to drop or skip any of those loops, and it goes pretty quickly. So now that we have taken all of the loops off of our machine, we're just going to tie a couple of knots here. That way it's just secure when it gets onto the actual ornament itself. Now here's what the little plastic ball looks like. Again, 1.5 inch diameter there. And then you're just going to slip it inside the little, tube right there, and then tighten the top. For a while I was actually stitching those in, but I found that if you just do a double knot at the top, it works perfectly and it's so fast. And then of course you're just going to tuck your tails. So then you're just going to repeat this process for as many of the balls that you're going to need to complete your wreath. I ended up using a total of 9. At this point, I kind of thought, oh, what would look really cute is a bow. So I only made 9, and then I also decided instead of going with the metal wreath to actually go with the wicker one instead. To make the bow, I also used the Centro 22 pin. I did use waste yarn to cast on, and then I added the red yarn, and I did about 100 rows. I kind of lost count, but it was about 100 rows, and then I cast off with waste yarn as well. And then I used the crochet finish to get a really nice clean finish on both sides. And if you do need a more in-depth video on that, I do have a video, a short form video in the playlist for knitting machine videos. So once I was done with both sides and I removed the waste yarn, then it was time to form the actual bow. So I played around with a couple of different ideas here. I liked how it's cinched there in the front. So I decided to cinch the sides together and then actually stitch them together. So you'll see there that I am taking the needle and I'm cinching it from one side to another, just getting that little pucker that'll give it a little bit more shape. And then once I stitched the front and back together, I did take the rest of the yarn and wrap it around just to really define the center of the bow. Okay, this is when the magic happens. This is when it all comes together. So I have my handy glue gun over there warming up. I am using an old Cricut mat turned upside down for my glue gun holder little placemat thing. It works really well. And then I'm lining up all of my balls to make sure that I have the right color scheme that I want. I didn't want any colors right next to each other, so I played with that a little bit, and then I just started gluing everything on. So of course I wanted to start with the bow. That placement was the most important, and then I went through and I added the rest of the balls. I kind of shifted them so that the tops of the ornaments were facing different directions, just to give it a little bit more of a unique look. Now, after I glued the balls on, I kept looking at it and I was like, it's empty, it's missing something. And I had an aha moment that I needed to create some pom-poms to fill in the space. So I grabbed my little pom-pom maker, and this is from Clover. You can buy them at almost any craft store. You can find them in my Amazon link in bio as well. But you can also just use your hands to make little pom-poms. So I decided to make a bunch of pom-poms in coordinating colors and then tie those all the way around just to fill in the spaces and give it a little bit more, presence and look a little bit more full. The only thing left to do is to trim those really long yarn tails, and she's done. This is one of those projects that's so quick and easy as well as customizable. Think of all the different variations you can do, from someone's favorite sports team's colors or just their favorite colors in general. You can also add different notions with different themes and change the sizes, whatever you want to do. So hopefully you like this content and will join me in the remainder of the 12 Days of Knitmas series. And that's it. And until next time, everybody, see ya!